Shalom and welcome. It's 2 minutes of Torah. This is entitled "The Eulogy for Mr. Shimon Peres Zachrono Livracha." Jewish people lost a great leader, 93-year-old man. There was not one major event in the history of Israel, the state, that he wasn't involved in some way or another. I'd like to talk about the man, the legend, and the lessons that we can learn from him. So first of all, that is well known. His whole life was dedicated to the Jewish people. Some of his policies many disagree with. Nevertheless, his dedication was to the Jewish people was legendary. Already before the state was born, he was busy amassing weaponry for the Haganah. Then, in his official position in the state in the late 40s, 50s, he was using all the connections that he worked so hard to build to bring, whether it was the tanks and the planes, whatever it may be, to give Israel the advantage, the military advantage over its ruthless neighbors. And forever, we have to have hakarat hatov, that he got the country started on the path of military strength. He was a founding father, and he literally helped found the military nation of Israel. And then, of course, the deal with Dimona and the French people, where he went ahead and he set that up to make us a nuclear power. It's all unofficial, but everyone knows we're nuclear power, with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of missiles armed with nuclear warheads that could destroy any nation that starts up with us. And let's call a spade a spade. Iran openly calls for our destruction when President Ahmadinejad, as I call him, was saying his goal is to wipe out the Jewish nation. And of course, the world barely responded. Surprise, surprise. And if he was so set on destroying us, why didn't he send missiles? Why did he attempt to destroy us before he left power? He was a lunatic. He still is a lunatic. Try your best. Do what you can. The answer is simple. There's many answers, but one answer I'd like to stress is because he knew if he would go ahead and start with us, we would nuke his country and destroy them and kill tens of millions of his people, which we don't want to do, but we will do that instead of going down. And he knew that. So because we have the advanced weaponry and we have nuclear capability, we don't have attacks from our neighbors. It's simple as that. You have the lone wolf attacks, you have suicide bombers, and every one of them hurts us tremendously. But why not regular war? Because of our military advantage. It's simple as that. And that goes to Shimon Peres, many, many others as well. But the credit, of course, we should give to Shimon Peres and thank him and have so much hakarat hatov to him. Of course, the famous mission in Entebbe, he was so involved in that. And his moving words, the eulogy that he gave for Yoni Netanyahu, Zechrono Livracha, it was from that day on that Bibi realized Shimon Peres is a very special man, and their bond developed then and grew till the day of his death. He so cared about the people in Entebbe and cared so much about the loss of Yoni, and it was clear to everyone how this man loved the Jewish people. So people are going to say, okay, it's very nice. He had major accomplishments, but colossal failures as well. What about that? So let's analyze that. With the Oslo Accords in the 90s, he honestly thought that maybe he could bring peace to the Mideast, as his book says, the new Mideast. And he was following a pattern. Our beloved Begin and Sadat. 73, Sadat's surprise attacks us. Almost a lethal blow, chas v'shalom. Thank God we recovered. Our Sharon, of course, and others to be thankful for that. And then a few years later, he shows up in Israel. He speaks to the Knesset, and Begin goes to Egypt. What a bond they developed. Who knows what would have happened if he wasn't assassinated and the president of Lebanon wasn't assassinated at the same time. They could have changed the Mideast. But, of course, that didn't happen. But nevertheless, the peace with Egypt, 40 years later, still exists. Bibi and Sisi have a very good working relationship. And so too with Jordan. So Shimon thought, Mr. Peres thought, that in the 90s, we could continue that process and build a new Mideast. It was a beautiful dream, wonderful aspirations. Shalom is certainly a Jewish concept, Hoseh Shalom V'Mahu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu, and he thought the time was ripe to try again. Obviously it wasn't. There was no partner there. And it was a mistake, a tragic mistake. Who else made that mistake? Rav Aaron Lichtenstein, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, the Rebbe for many of us. Rav Amital, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, the Rebbe for many of us as well. Well, they also had certain hopes and dreams and thought that maybe there's something to that. So yes, before Rav Aaron died, he said there's no peace partner. So it's true. He did realize there was no one to talk to anymore. And maybe Peres still dreamed till his last day. I wasn't ready to just scrap the whole idea and was still hoping that maybe something can happen. So okay. And therefore what? He had dreams, he had hopes. He thought that the pattern that was established a few decades earlier could somehow be continued. And it was a horrible mistake. And therefore what? We don't have a karta tov to the man. And the bottom line is, the way Bibi is forging relationships with many countries in the Mideast, the Sunni Muslims, specifically Saudi Arabia, and others as well, and now reestablished connections with Turkey. And everyone who's fighting ISIS is a friend of ours now, officially, unofficially. Maybe Peres' dream of the Mideast may actually occur one day. Who knows? Who knows? But the bottom line is, it was his dream, and there was a precedent for it, and he thought that it could happen and grow. To go ahead and tarnish the person because the dream did not occur as he hoped for, I don't think that's appropriate at all. Then another lesson that we can learn from him, besides the Hakarat HaTov, appreciation, gratitude we must have for him, another lesson that we have to learn from him. How many setbacks did the man have? How many elections did he go for and lose? And the next day he was back at work. Ego was bruised, picked himself up, moved on. And he had the prime minister position several times. Didn't last. Everyone thought for sure when he ran to be president 2 times ago against Katsaf, for sure he'd win. That was a shoo-in. Didn't happen. But he kept coming back. How can I contribute to the Jewish people? What can I do? And Baruch Hashem, he was blessed with his last years serving such a dignified representative of the Jewish nation. And finally, a pshat that he gave, defining youth versus the elderly. He said, what is someone who's youthful, someone who is elderly? So Allah, of course, has a cutoff point of 70 years. He said there's another definition as well. A youth is someone who's looking forward, dreaming, hoping, planning, aspirations. What can I do? How can I make the country a better country? How can I improve the Jewish nation? How can I make the world a better place? A person could be 90, 92, 93, and he's thinking that way. He's feeling that way. He's aspiring to greatness. He's young. A person goes ahead and is looking back. How are people going to remember me? What are they going to think of me? What's going to be my legacy? He's an old man. When someone asked Peres once, what's going to be your legacy? I'm thinking forward. He was young till the very end. He was optimistic and he was a dreamer. And yes, the dreams didn't all come true. Some of them turned into nightmares. Still, Hakarat HaTov, a gratitude, an important mitzvah of learning from his ways is very much in store. You see that 70 major leaders from around the world came and were touched by him. And you listen to Obama, you listen to Clinton, and of course to Bibi, who was so close with him despite their differences. You listen to how these world leaders were touched by him, had real connections to him, were inspired by him. We realize we lost a very great man, a true founding father of the Jewish nation, a true leader, a dreamer, a dedicated person, a Jew till the end, not that knowledgeable of all the halachot, didn't keep everything, but as president, he was not Machal Shabbat when he went to the Olympics, to the best he could with the knowledge that he had. I think he should serve as inspiration for all of us. I personally have tremendous hakarat gratitude towards him, and a role model of resiliency for me. And Yetz Hashem, all of his actions should be thought of as actions that brought us to a very great chapter in Jewish history that Yetz Hashem will lead to the full redemption speedily in our days. Shalom.